Good evening. I'd like to call our meeting to order. If we could start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have solicitors' announcements.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Upper Darby Township Zoning Hearing Board. Prior to the meeting, the board met in executive session to discuss questions of law related to this evening's applications. For the public here tonight, if you are not an applicant or one of their witnesses or representative, there are multiple ways for you to participate in this evening's hearing. The first is public comment. At the end of every application, if you are a resident or interested member of the public that would like to comment in support of or in opposition to an application, we will give you that opportunity at the end of the testimony for that application. If you are here because you feel that you have a special status related to an application, particularly affected, you live close by, or somehow other related to that application, at the beginning of each application, I will ask for people who would like to be recognized with party status. Party status will afford you the right to question the applicant's witnesses, present testimony of your own, receive a copy of the decision of the zoning hearing board, and if you disagree with the decision of the board, take an appeal to the Court of Common Pleas. If you plan on requesting party status for any application tonight, there are forms on the front table by the door that we would ask you to fill out prior to that application being called. That gives us your contact information, and we're able to reach out to you, send you the information, and keep you in the loop with any updates on the application. That is, I believe, all I have this evening.
Okay. Okay, we'll begin with item 11.1 of 23, application of Carly Friedman and Emily Schaefer for a variance from section 550-33B5 to permit parking in the front yard. The location is 2528 Garrett Road in Drexel Hill. It's an R1 residential district, 5th Council District.
Good
Hello.
evening. If you could.
Hello.
Hi, if you both could introduce yourselves, and we'll have you sworn in by the court reporter.
Great. I'm Carly J. Friedman.
I'm M. Schaefer.
Yes.
Okay, before we begin with your presentation, the board's going to enter a couple of exhibits into the record. ZHB 1 will be the application packet. ZHB 2 will be the notice photos, and ZHB 3 will be the proof of publication. If you could just give the board a bit of an explanation about what you're requesting and your basis for the request.
So we just moved into our new house. We love it. I moved just from 5 minutes away from Upper Darby. Our property is a corner property, and it currently does have a driveway, but the driveway is located at the very back of the property, which is on Lakeview. Our house is the corner of Garrett and Lakeview. And because of the grade difference between our first level and where the driveway currently is, to get into the house from the driveway, you have to walk 300 feet up a hill, around and into the front door, or you have to go up a flight and a half of stairs. So we're hoping to create this new driveway in the front because we want it to be more accessible for our family, our friends, and ourselves. And since there are lots of other houses along Garrett Road that have front yard driveways, we're hoping this won't be too much of a nuisance. And we're hoping that, this change will be able to be upheld by the city council.
And we will have room to turn around, so it shouldn't affect the traffic.
Yes, we'll have turnaround, so we'll go in nose first and we'll come out nose first.
Before we go to the board's questions, I always do this on the first application. Is there anybody present for this application this evening who would like party status? Okay, we'll just have the record reflect that there is no request for party status. So we can have board questions at this time.
So, I guess my first initial question is, so currently the parking is accessible in the back. There's a gradient. Other than convenience, is there anything specifically that makes this property unusable if you don't have access direct onto Garrett for your parking? Like, is there any other way that you could feasibly make the parking more accessible in the back if it was like a ramp, et cetera?
That wouldn't really make much of a difference in this case because even if we had a ramp, it would lead you into the basement. And so unless you were to somehow go a story and a half up, I don't see a way that you could get from the driveway into the house as it currently is.
Perfect. And then for, I guess, just explain the configuration. So obviously you have two parking pads. What was the decision between having a parking pad and the turnaround compared to having just a straight driveway, maybe a wider driveway, but in general?
We wanted it to be beautiful. We don't want to detract from the natural, beauty and curb appeal of our house. It's a beautiful old stone house, and we're hoping to build something that's in line with that. We're hoping that by having the parking pads to the side, it'll be kind of tucked away. It won't be directly in front of the door or towards the curb where you really see it first thing. It would kind of be tucked to the side of the property. So that was our hope.
And we didn't want to have to back out.
Yes, we also wanted to be able to, for safety reasons, be able to turn around in the driveway.
Okay.
I'm sorry, you said you recently moved in? You saw this before you bought the house, did you not?
It was a
Yes.
concern.
It was a concern
We looked into this process
before we bought the
beforehand.
house.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, even before closing, we had started the application.
The reason that your other neighbors have gotten I'll call it the access way from Garrett Road was because they don't have a side entrance. They don't have a side road to be able to bring their car, which you do.
Mm. But even still, a lot of our neighbors actually do have circles that go in front of their whole property. So there are lots of cases that I've seen in the neighborhood where they have, gotten this variance.
I did have one follow-up question regarding the existing driveway. Did you guys plan to remove that upon the completion of the new driveway?
No, we don't have any intention of doing that.
Okay.
We could if we needed, if that was we would rather have it in the front if we had to
Yeah.
remove it.
But there is a garage in the back.
Yeah.
So we wouldn't have access to that garage anymore.
Can you give me a visual of what you envision that to look like? I'm looking at a Google photo of your property. Can you just kind of give me?
Yeah, we also have it pictured in our application.
See that, I'm
My
sorry.
partner
That's good.
actually works in construction, and so they were able to
Okay.
do the mock-up of it. So we're hoping, we have an existing walkway that goes from Garrett to our front door. We're hoping to basically expand the area around it in the driveway. And then there are 2 parking spots that would be to the left when you're looking at the house. And then there would be a turnaround to the right that's smaller.
And the 2 parking pads would be between 2 trees that are existing, so you would barely even see them. Won't be an eyesore.
Okay, I'm sorry, I did not see that.
That's
No
okay.
worries.
That's my oversight.
Can you also maybe elaborate a little if you're going to do any stormwater management?
Yes, so I'm actually a gardener, and so I love all things plants. I'm hoping to plant a lot of more, fruit trees and water soaking plants on the property. We're also looking into different materials for the driveway itself, and we're, still debating between doing a permeable surface and, a cheaper alternative, but that's still an option.
We're also planning to put a French drain in the backyard, because currently water coming off the house is, like going into the garage. And so as part of this process, when they excavate to do the asphalt or whatever we decide, we were gonna have them, put in a drain in the back to help get the water towards the street and away from, our neighbors.
Yeah, and we're going to be putting in plantings as well.
When you do that French drain, will that drain into the township storm sewer, or are you planning on doing like a rain garden or other type of infiltration?
Yeah, I'm hoping to do a rain garden, which, I've worked, when we lived in Philadelphia, I've worked with PGW to help install other rain gardens, so I'm hoping to do something similar.
And if we were to, add, you would be able to do that rain garden if we applied that as a condition?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there any public comment? Okay. That being said, I'd like to one second, I'm sorry. Sounds like he wants to say something.
Yeah, you want to do executive session?
We can step out for a second.
Yeah, let's just step out.
Oh, okay.
Or it's going to go into a brief executive session.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we approve this application with the condition that there is rainwater management at the approval of the township. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah.
You've been approved.
Congratulations.
Thank
You'll receive
you.
a written decision within 45 days of tonight.
Do we have to do something to get the rain garden approved? Is that what you said? Sorry.
You also have to
Whatever,
get
whatever
curb cut.
process the township has to review your stormwater
Okay,
and
great.
grading plans, that's what you'll be subject to. Basically,
I'm
talk
sure
to
it'll be
Josh.
lovely.
They also have to get the curb.
Yeah, we'll talk later.
That's not a condition.
We'll finesse the language. Rainwater management is what, yeah.
Our next application is 11-2 of 23 of James and Teresa Kirk for a variance from section 55010, table 4-1, to permit a 5-foot side yard setback when a minimum of 10 feet is required. The location is 2804 Huey Avenue in Drexel Hill, R1 Residential District, and it's the third council district. Good evening.
Hey, how are you?
Before we begin, is there anybody present this evening who wishes to request party status for this application? There's some may be tempted, none are recognized.
Told them to leave.
The board will enter the following exhibits. ZHB1 will be the application packet. ZHB2 will be the notice photos, and ZHB3 will be the proof of publication. Mr. and Mrs. Kirk, if you could just offer the board what you're requesting and why relief is necessary.
Sure, is it okay to approach the bench?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh,
Absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you. I only made 4 copies, I'm sorry.
we can share. We'll mark this packet collectively as A1.
It's basically the same one I submitted, so I'm not sure.
Actually, Tom, can we have Mr. and Mrs. Kirk sworn in? Oh, you did? Okay, thank you.
Sorry, I prepared just a quick statement, just because I'm better.
The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you for taking time to review my zoning request for 2804 Huey. I've been a lifelong resident of Township, attending all the local schools, graduating from Upper Darby. Initially, my family and I lived on School Lane in the Huey Park area of Drexel Hill. That's where my children were born. In 2013, we had the opportunity to buy 2804 Huey Avenue. It was kind of our dream house. You know, you drive by those houses all the time. You look at it and you're like, wow, that's it. And then we're able to do that. The house was well maintained by the previous owners. It preserved the design of the classic stone colonial while incorporating the essential updates. However, the challenge in these homes is the small kitchen, which is typical in older homes. We've consulted with many contractors, designers. And it seems the most viable solution is extending the kitchen to the side of the house. Sorry, I lost my place here. To the side, mirroring the existing porch room that's on the opposite side of the house. And I did include pictures within in the workbook there. By doing this, we would preserve the dining room. I really love the integrity of the house. It really hasn't changed in almost, it's going to be 100 years this year. Our house is located on the corner, so the options that we have are very limited to what we can do to add an addition to the house. Behind the home is our driveway and a garage, so we can't go to the back. And really, the only option we have, aside from tearing out the dining room, is to go to the side of the house. And like I said, the side porch that's existing, if you look at the photos, the Google photos I have on page, I believe it's page 9. You can see on the top right portion is my house. To the right is the existing porch, which extends 15 feet. I'd like to mirror that on the opposite side of the house, which is a hardscaped piece of the property now. It's just like a hardscape porch. There's really nowhere else to go. And that's kind of where we stand on that. Sure.
So my first question is, obviously you are requesting a variance from 10 feet to 5. From your pictures, it already looks like you have some permeable surface down with the brick pavers. I mean, not
Yes.
fully, but
Yep.
how would you manage, so if you're mimicking the exact site, like the opposite of the house, how would you plan to manage stormwater to make sure it's not running off directly into your neighbor's property?
Absolutely. So currently what we have is we have all of our drains from the gutter drains go into a system which takes it right out to the street. What I would do is just simply connect into those. And essentially we just go to the street.
Okay. And then from your, I'd assume these are the signatures from the property owners?
Oh, yeah, that's the one thing I forgot to mention. If you look at the signatures, each number that the signatures are, the following page represents the houses that are, that signed. So number 2 is obviously my direct neighbor that would be most affected. He had no problem with it, and he was one of the, actually the second one to sign. Yeah, he would literally be the only one affected. And on that side of his house is basically his garage.
Do you guys have questions?
I don't either.
Is that a good thing? We have no questions?
Is your neighbor here tonight?
He is not, no.
He's in the car.
Is there any public comment?
Okay, let's make a motion.
Make or take a motion if you're ready.
I would like to make a motion to approve this application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Congratulations.
You'll receive a full decision within 45 days.
You got it, thank you.
Okay, our next application is 11-3 of 23 of Sergio and Maria Ortiz for a variance from section 558A to permit a takeout restaurant in an R3 district, variance from section 550-37G1B3 to permit a wall sign greater than 16 square feet, and a variance from section 550-15D, table 4-1, to allow a side yard setback of 0 feet when a minimum of 10 feet is required. This location is 6858 Marshall Road in Upper Darby. It's a R3 residential district, 6 council district.
Before we begin, we'll see if there's anybody who would like to request party status for this application. All right, seeing none, the board will enter the following exhibits. ZHB 1 will be the application packet, ZHB 2 will be the notice photos, and ZHB 3 will be the proof of publication. Ms. Bezidlo? Sorry, thank you. I appreciate it. You represent the applicant?
Correct.
All right.
May I bring up some exhibits?
Absolutely, please. That's all right.
And I marked them A1 through A8.
Okay, A1 through A8.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It, just to take care of the housekeeping, are you planning on, you're planning on calling your applicant? Or would you like to do an offer of proof?
I would like to offer proof.
Okay, we'll still have him sworn in so he can verify your offer.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
And can you just put your name on the record too?
Austin Ross.
All right, and Austin is the owner.
No. ALSTON. ROSS.
And Mr. Ross is the owner of Shrimp King, which is the tenant of the property we're talking about. And Mr. Ortiz is in the audience as well,
Right.
if we need him for any reason.
Thank you.
So like I said, what? You can if you want to, but you can stay here.
We'll just have you
Yeah.
come back up once your attorney is
Yeah.
finished, but sure.
Go for it. So like I said, my name is Jennifer Bazidlo here, and I am representing the tenant of 6858 Marshall Road, which is a business called Shrimp King. This business is located on Marshall Road between 69th Street and Barrington Road. It's right across from Rockland Road, for everyone's reference. Next door is a Dunkin' Donuts. It's in the rear of the Super Fresh, just so we can all kind of orient ourselves what we're talking about. A little bit of description of this property. It is a 3,590 square foot irregularly shaped property. It is zoned R3, and right now it consists of a residential building with a commercial unit attached on the west side of the building. That commercial unit is currently being used as a takeout restaurant for Shrimp King. And this, so Shrimp King is a takeout restaurant specializing in seafood and pasta dishes. You can see the menu in A2. And of note is that while they are currently the tenant, Alston is in the process of purchasing this property as well, which is going to be relevant later. And the agreement of sale, you can see at A1. So I'm going to circle back a little bit later about why we're here now after this business has been open for our year already. And to do that, I'm going to talk a little bit about the history of this property. So the residential building was built in approximately 1948. And sometime between 1948 and 1977, we have this commercial addition built on the side. It's been consistently used as a commercial property since then. As a beauty salon, thrift store, grocery store, convenience store, restaurant, inflatable store, and most recently we have the takeout restaurant, Shrimp King. In Exhibit A3, you can see what I had available on Google Maps, which was back to 2008, with various different uses, commercial uses of this building. I just also wanted to mention that the letter from October 23, 2023, which is already in your record, as part of the application materials, really does a more deep dive into the history of this property. I'm just trying to summarize it. So in 2010, the current zoning code was adopted, and this property was R3 at that point. However, commercial uses continued. Of note, there were 2 prior certificate of occupancies issued for commercial uses at this property without variances. For inflatable store, the inflatable store and the grocery store obtain these commercial COs. Now let's talk about my client. In November of 2021, Alston submitted a business license application for Shrimp King to continue use, to take over a restaurant business, believing this was the correct application because there had previously been restaurants at the property. The township issued him a business license, and specifically in that license of November 8th, 2021, it said that the use was permitted under the township zoning code. He then went and obtained on 12/16/22 a certificate of occupancy for his restaurant.
Is, Ms. Pizzillo, are the documents you're discussing right now, are they in this packet?
Correct, it's Exhibit 4 and 5.
Okay, thank you.
So if you want a moment to review those. So they are in the exhibit packet at 4 and 5. So in August of this year comes around, The business has been very successful, and the current owner is looking to sell as part of his lease. Alston had the right of first refusal and went to go buy the property. In the process of obtaining the UNO to sell the property, it was discovered that this CO and this business license and the prior COs for commercial uses after 2010 should have never been issued because it's not a commercial property, technically, even though it's been in continuous commercial use since the late 70s, over 4 decades. This is probably because of the location of the property and some genuine confusion. If you look at tab A6, you have a zoning map of the area. The adjacent parcel, as well as the parcels across the street, and a large R zone commercial. Adjacent to the property directly is a C2, and that's where we have the Fresh Grocer grocery store. And then across Marshall Road, we have C3s and C1s. There's a convenience store, excuse me, I think there's a tobacco store there. There is a car dealership. There's an auto repair. You have a Dunkin' Donuts too. You're on the commercial corridor of Marshall Road. And you can see that actually in Exhibit A8. There are, I believe it's the last page of the photos, you can see the surrounding properties, that it's not, while it's zoned residential, we are really in a commercial, at the very end of a commercial district that on the other side of Marshall extends another couple blocks, and on this side it becomes residential. So, excuse me, I just lost my place here. So we have, so in this commercial corridor that's adjacent to this property, we have grocery stores, we have retail stores, we have fast food, gas stations, auto sales, auto repairs, and some bars. So we are on a busy main road surrounded by commercial uses. And the most impacted residential dwelling is actually the one that's attached to this commercial property and will also be owned by my client and is currently owned by the current owners because it's attached to a residential building. So there's a residential building that's owned by the same owner as the commercial unit as a buffer between any other residential use. On the other side, you have the back of the Fresh Grocer. And you can see that in the photos. There's also, I believe, I don't think I included the overhead shots. Maybe I did. But if you look at the area, you're really looking at a commercial area. So, you have a commercial building built as a commercial unit that has been used as a commercial building for over 40 years. And you have a successful business that's been operating and is looking to purchase the property, who tried to do the right thing, got a CO, got a license, and just kind of had some administrative oversight issues happening here. But he's been successfully operating with no issues. People love his restaurant. They love his food. So, you have a successful business that's benefiting the community. It's not a detriment to the community in any sort of way. I also want to briefly mention the sign because like this use would be permitted 5 feet next door in any of these commercial zoning districts, C3, C2, C1, we would have a by right use in any of the properties around here. Same thing with our sign. It's approximately 41 square feet. It's not gigantic. It's 20 inches by 25 inches and is quite frankly smaller than a lot of the other signs on the commercial buildings surrounding. Also, if you look at the Google image views historically, there's been much larger signs on this property. Probably not permitted, but it's not something that's new to this building. I also wanted to point out the positive impacts of this restaurant. They do have 5 employees hired from the local area, and it does offer a takeout menu that isn't pizza, which I know people are often looking. I know I get tired of pizza. Pizza's great, but I get tired of pizza. So you have a different cuisine, you're employing local people. And I'll also mention that Alston, while he no longer lives in Upper Darby, He lives nearby in West Philly. He was a resident, long-term resident of Upper Darby until very recently. So he's local to the community and looking to continue to grow his business in the local community. At this point, I do want to touch on the third variance, which is the dimensional variance. The side yard setback required is 10 feet. We're proposing 0. This is largely an existing condition of this building. When this addition was added, whenever, in the 70s, between 1948 and 1977, it was built up against the property line. The reason we are receiving a variance is that it was expanded. The roof was raised. If you look in the historic photos, you can see that it had a flat roof and now there is a tilted roof. It honestly makes the space much more usable and friendlier to a higher quality of businesses like this restaurant, as opposed to, you kind of look through some of the historical photos, the building doesn't look good. It looks nice now. But by expanding that nonconformity, we received a refusal. So that's really where we're at with that. It's not a new condition of the property, it's an existing condition. And important to note, and you can see in Exhibit A7, there is a adjacent easement. There is a 4-foot easement for the sidewalk that you see in front of the property. So there will never be a building directly abutting it because there is that permanent easement recorded in the deed. So why we have 0 setback, there is always going to be at least 4 feet in between these properties. So that's and I put 3 deeds in there. I put a 1949 deed, a 1984 deed, and the most recent deed from 2020. So it's been there, it's recorded. Yeah, so I think that just in summary, before, I'm sure you have questions for me, we have an existing commercial unit built as a commercial unit that's been in operation as a commercial business of some sort since 1940. We have a successful takeout restaurant currently operating in the building, that they had believed they had applied everything correctly. They weren't trying to be shady or anything like that. And only through the process of trying to purchase this building did we discover that we needed to come here before you today. Converting this back to a residential use would be a significant hardship to this property as it's currently configured and has been configured as a commercial unit and really isn't suitable for residential use at this point. And in addition, it's literally in a parking lot of a commercial building. So, we're not trying to stick a business in the middle of homes. We are just, literally, if it was 2 feet over, it would be a by right use.
So, Ms. Bizzillo, before I open it up for the board, I don't think you've addressed the variance related to the wall sign. Can you
Sure.
discuss why a sign of that size is required for this business?
Sure. So the sign itself is something that would be allowed on the commercial business if it was in the adjacent zoning district. It's not particularly large. It's not particularly flashy. And because this building kind of sits not directly facing the road, but to the side, we need a little bit bigger sign to kind of attract attention and let people know what the business is. But it's not anything that's it's not gigantic, and it fits kind of nicely on the building. There's a picture of it in the packet, and I believe there was a picture in the application as well. And it's something that would be allowed in a commercial zoning district.
We'll do board questions, and then we'll have Ms. Bizzillo's client adopt all the testimony before we could move into public comment.
So, first question, regarding the patio, was that built by the current occupant, like the current business, Shrimp King?
So I'm not sure, Alston. Okay, so yes, it was built. It was believed at the time that it was their property. We now know that it is not their property. It had been used for seating. Like if you see some of the older pictures, there's benches and stuff like that. We are no longer proposing to have outdoor seating and it won't be used.
Okay. Is that going to be removed?
It can be removed.
Okay. Has there been any conversations with the existing property owner that obviously like owns that property?
The adjacent property, not at this time. We were looking to make sure that we could go through this process, and then we will be talking to them about any potential issues or potentially using, purchasing, that sort of thing.
Okay. I mean, they'll definitely probably going to have to remove it. It's not their
Yep.
property.
Yep.
But, so I have a question regarding parking. So I know there's a request for a variance from, obviously, what would be required would be one parking spot. This is going to be a takeout restaurant, I believe.
Sure, so the lack of parking is a pre-existing condition on the building. So, and while it's not our parking spaces, there is a large parking area adjacent to the building.
I would assume, since we've established there's been no contact with the current property, the adjacent property owner, that there's no shared parking agreement in place?
No,
Okay.
but again, that was a pre-existing condition, so.
And you mentioned that this property has been used as other things other than a restaurant, correct? Okay, so it has been viably used as other things other than a restaurant? a
Correct,
takeout
but,
restaurant.
but as a commercial use, which any commercial use of the property, other than, I believe there's an existing medical office approval, would require a variance at this point, because it's zone residential at this point.
That's it for me for the initial round.
I'm a little confused too about where the property line is for the Shrimp King versus the property line for the apartments that are there. The apartments,
So the adjacent building, the residential building,
yes.
is part of this property. This property is the residential apartments and the commercial building.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So like, so 6858 Marshall Road has two residential apartments, and on the western side of the building is this commercial unit.
So is this going to be like a mixed use
Yes.
in your intent?
So this unit right here, we're talking about the commercial unit. That's what we're looking for the variance to use this part of the property commercially. And it's been used commercially since it was built.
Understood.
So the two apartment buildings plus the commercial building will share the same address?
Correct.
Okay. And I may have overlooked, I was trying to find where is the proposed new signage going?
It's on the front of the building. It's actually already there. It is next to the entrance door. It is a square, flat light-up sign, static light-up sign. And I do believe you can see it in A7 of the front of the building.
What is the exact size of what is there?
It's 20 inches by 25 inches. What?
25.
The small one.
Okay.
Right? Is that what it is?
No, I think they were talking about the one that's,
No, not the banner, the light-up
Oh.
sign.
yeah, the light up sign. Is that the open sign? I only have.
No, the sign that says Shrimp King
Why
to
don't
the
you-
right of,
Austin, come on up.
the sign that says Shrimp King to the right of the door, it's a box sign, backlit sign.
Oh, I'm sorry. That particular sign, it's,
You have to come up to the microphone because we're
Yes.
live streaming the meeting.
my apologies. That sign is about, I think it's like between three, it's I think 3 by 5, something like that. Like 3 by 5.
I don't think it's that big. We could get, if you need the exact measurements, we can get it for you. I'm
I'm
sorry,
just
there was a miscommunication. We had a miscommunication on the
No,
side.
so the variance request is for a sign greater than 16 square feet. So I'm just trying to ascertain how large the sign is so we know what the degree of variance is.
Okay.
So if it's 3 by 5,
It's like a 3, no, it's not by 5, I'm sorry. It's probably 3 by 3. I can't, I don't know.
It's
the
square.
measurement
It's
right
about
now.
3 by
It's
3.
square. It's about 3 by, it's evenly 3 by 3.
that's 9 square feet. Still got that right?
Yeah.
So the variance is also for what's allowed on a residential property, not what's allowed on the commercial property. So if it was like the residential properties can only
understand.
have 16 square feet, and if it was in a C, if it was in the adjacent C2, this would be a by right sign.
Josh, what is the sign square footage limitation for the R3 district?
16 square feet.
So if we're talking about 16 square feet, if we're talking about a 9 square foot sign that's there, we don't need relief, correct?
That's total. Is it one sign or two signs?
Oh, yeah.
Or-
How-
so-
go ahead.
So maybe this is my confusion. We're talking about, what signs are we talking about? Because I thought we were only talking about the flat wall sign.
So we're talking about all signs on the building.
All signs.
Okay,
So-
so the ones in the window as well?
Window signs would count as well, and then there's a banner. Looks like, it's not really a banner, but it looks like a banner that runs across the top. Flip around.
Okay, so we're talking
It's-
about the banner as well. Yes, so that one, that banner is the one that is about 24 inches by 20 feet. There's a banner as well.
So we're at least 49 square feet now of signage
Yeah,
with the banner, and then we still have window signs to add in.
yeah.
And the window signs, what is the nature of the window signs?
So
Are we talking
if
about open, or are we talking about actual advertisement?
There's square paper signs in the window on the inside that say Shrimp King.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, regarding the banner, is that a temporary sign or is that permanent? Like, would you plan to have that up 24/7 on the side of the building?
I mean, the fact that I'm running a business and when you are driving from down Garrett Road, in order for me to be competitive, you can see everybody else's sign, and the way my building stands alone, if I don't have anything near, you can ride right by it and you wouldn't even know it's there. My customers continuously say that I need more signage and more things to let people know exactly what's going on. But to the simple fact, when I went to the Garrett Road, to the zoning, they told me I had a limited space I could use. So I'm in the business of selling food, and I have to advertise, and it's a very competitive area. So I just put what I could put there. The sign just simply says a few things that I do. It
Yeah.
doesn't say everything that I do.
And if you look at some of the older photos, you can see that there's some less nice signs that have been there in the past. And so I guess what Alston's saying is that, yes, the banner is something that's going to be there. But I would argue that the signs that are there are much more tasteful than have been there in the past. And I would say that it's necessary to have these advertising for what Alston's saying, because of the angle of this building, that it's not directly on the road. There is a need to catch people's eye as they're driving by.
So what, in a commercial district, what's the permitted amount of square footage for signage on a building?
It'd be 2 times the width of the tenant space.
2 times
The width of the tenant space.
measured linearly? So if the building is 40 feet long, you get 40 square feet of
You get 80 square feet.
2 times.
2
sorry.
times the width. Yeah, you would get 80 square feet. Which, yeah, I don't know what the measurement of this building is, but it would probably be under that.
Do we know how the size, what's the footprint of the building? Do we know how large the building is?
The property
Of
is
the-
about 103 feet long.
Okay,
So, and this maybe occupies about 2/3 of it, I would say,
and that's the restaurant space?
the restaurant space.
I think I see 79 feet on the survey.
Oh, yeah, there's a survey with the building.
Always helpful.
But that might not be correct.
I have a,
Actually, 40. I don't know if you want this, but
I'm just trying to understand
like 40 feet.
what kind of deviation we're looking at here. So, but even if we're at 75, that's 150 square feet of signage, right? under the commercial regulations? Do you
Yeah.
have 150 square feet of
No.
signage in the building?
I actually think it's 40, but yeah, there's still,
What
it'd
is
still be well under at 80 square feet.
Oh, you think it's 40?
I think it's 40,
Okay.
based off of a previous signage application we had.
We're looking at a comparison number of 80 square feet, and we have a banner that's roughly 40 square feet plus a 9 square foot sign plus some window signs.
Yeah, that are probably maybe another 9 at most square feet apiece. So we're under the 80 square feet.
Sorry, kind of.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Um,
Where's the trash bins, et cetera?
Sure, so in the rear of the property, there is a gated-in area that has a dumpster in it with commercial trash collection. So it's secured behind and fenced in, so you do not see the dumpster, and has commercial trash pickup.
Now, do you also have commercial pickup of the trash for the apartment units?
I believe, I'm not sure, would you like to come up and talk? No. So there is no commercial trash pickup for the residential units. They
Who's
have
picking it up?
the township.
Is it? I have waste management that picks up my trash every week. So the residential tenants, they have, use of the townships.
It's 2 units. It's not a large apartment building.
I guess just like, how many people would you plan, or expect to be coming in and out of this business every day?
My hope is 1 million, but, as of right now, I can't really determine, like, different days, when we do Taco Tuesday, we get a lot of traffic. Due to Uber Eats and DoorDash and those type of things that we have, you get drivers that come up and down. But, like I said, not enough for me.
Yeah.
So,
You
Where
know,
do these drivers park?
they park right out in the front, they come in, grab the food, and they leave.
On Marshall or in the parking lot?
They come into the parking lot.
And that's what I wanted to ask about the parking lot. I think it was established earlier on that the parking lot does not belong to the business, correct?
correct.
So, I'm sorry, when I see takeout, I'm just thinking about me going to get takeout. I'm pulling in, I'm getting my food and pulling out. So is there any time that there is an influx, say like Super Bowl, people might come and order food, and how do you handle parking, and do you have any type of agreement established for things like that?
I'm going to speak to Super Fresh, due to what the, county's asking. But when it comes to the parking, the way it's set up, the way that my building is set up, it's really in the back of Super Fresh. So the trucks and the loading area is kind of like back there. The people that use that lot, they usually park there to go to Dunkin' Donuts. They park there to go across the street to the car dealership. That particular space where my restaurant is at is not used for, Super Fresh customers. So the customers, they basically come in, they order over the phone, they come in, they grab their food, and they leave. No one's like lingering there, staying there, and causing any type of confusion or any type of cluttering when it comes to parking. So they just basically, that particular space, if you can just picture it, it's so big, that lot is so big, and it's cut in so many ways. They just come in, get out, and that's all I can tell you.
So you don't have parking allocated to
No, I
that
don't have-
business?
I don't
It
have
never,
parking
it never had it?
I just want to, I'll add that in the letter from the October 13th letter from the township, it's noted that the lack of parking is an existing nonconformity that doesn't require a variance, so.
Okay.
But the board can consider the impact of parking related
Correct.
to the use variance.
Correct.
So,
I just wanted to be clear that that's what we're discussing and not a variance.
understood.
Right,
Yes.
right.
Do the tenants have a place to park?
Yes, so the residential tenants, there is a garage and a rear parking pad to the residential property, which is accessed again by going through there is a easement on the deed to access that parking space through the Fresh Grocer parking lot to enter the road behind the properties to access the parking. And that's true for all of the properties. There's like 8 houses that are there. They all have that condition.
And for this property, I'm assuming, given its small stature or small size, its existing condition, it's 100% permeable at this point, like impervious surface.
Yes, and we're not proposing to change any permeability. In fact, we'll probably be removing the patio, but that's not our property. So
I would assume so, right?
and I will say that the addition that was made actually created better drainage because it created a gutter system for the roof, where it was just kind of a flat roof without proper drainage before.
Do you want to go into executive? Anybody else?
Then, if the board is done with questions, can, Mr. Ross, you heard your attorney's presentation this evening? Prior to when you stood up, you heard your attorney's
Oh, yes.
presentation? You do you agree that everything she stated on the record was accurate and complete?
Yes,
And would you adopt her testimony as your own?
yes.
Is there anything you would add or change in that testimony?
Can I get a variance for a bigger sign?
So, I mean, do you want to just tell them a little bit about I think we're good. We're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been living, oh, go ahead now.
If there's something you'd like to add, you are, I'll
Wanna just
defer to
tell
your attorney,
personal
but.
story if you want
I mean,
to.
I had a restaurant, put a lid on it about 13 years ago in Sherbrooke. And I opened up this restaurant, and in order to get this restaurant, I lived at 318 Richfield Road. I sold my property to get this restaurant open. I went through everything I needed to go through as far as licensing, and it's working out fine. People love it. And then I come up with needing the zoning, which I didn't expect, like, so that's the only story I got to tell you, that, we trying to get it right, and hopefully, give up the zone.
Do you have any more presentation this evening?
No, I do not.
So we'll ask for public comment then at this time.
Is there any public comment?
Seeing none, the board is going to recess into a brief executive session.
Great, thank you.
Okay. I'd like to make the motion that we approve this application with the following condition, that there is some type of agreement. We are encouraging some type of agreement be made with the owners of the parking space there for your business.
Okay, so the new permit would not be issued unless there's an agreement?
We are
We
encouraging
are
you
encouraging
Encouraging.
it. We're
to
not,
secure a parking agreement in the vicinity.
Wonderful, we are
Yes.
of the same mindset then. Okay,
can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
thank you.
Good luck.
Congratulations.
You'll receive a written decision within 45 days.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
It was very nice to meet you. Thank you, everyone.
Of course. Have a good one.
Hello. Okay.
good evening.
Our next application is 11/4 of 23, application of Aaron and Paul. Is it Karafides?
Karafides, yeah.
Karafides. Not too bad. For variance from section 55010, table 41, to permit a lot width at the building line of 55.25 feet, where a minimum of 65 feet is required, and a variance from section 5510, table 41, to permit an aggregate side yard of 23.87 feet, when a minimum aggregate side yard of 25 feet is required. The location is 5009 Marvine in Drexel Hill. It's an R1 residential district, First District Council.
Before we begin, we'll note for the record that there are no other members of the public in the room other than the applicant's group. So there will be no request or grants of party status for this application. The board will mark the following exhibits. ZHB1 will be the application packet. ZHB2 will be the notice photos, and ZHB3 will be the proof of publication. So I'm guessing we have Paul and Erin Karafides, and then can you both identify yourself as well?
Yes, absolutely. My name is James McKenna with Square Architects.
And I'm Dane Bombera with Square Architects.
Okay.
Bombera, Bombara.
Right.
Dane, Dane.
For the ease of this, can we have all four of you sworn in?
Yes.
Right. So,
Square. Yep.
so for the sake of my own procedure, you have exhibits you'd like to present to the board? You can,
Yeah,
you can
just-
bring them up. That'd be helpful. Since you're an architect and not an attorney, I'm just going to have one of the Karafides introduce the project, and then they can turn it over to you to testify.
Absolutely. Sounds good.
Sure. My name is Paul Karafides at 5009 Marvine Avenue in Drexel Hill. We hope to put an addition onto our house going out off the back end of the house. That will be a new kitchen and living room area. So that's the basis of the whole project.
And you brought your architects to testify this evening?
We did,
Okay,
yes.
So if you'd like to turn it over to them to
Yes.
testify.
Turn it over to Jim.
Thanks, Paul. Yes. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity to present tonight. We appreciate it. This project, as Paul had noted, is a rear addition to their residence in the Drexel Hill section of Upper Darby. Similar to an earlier project tonight, the pinch point is the small kitchen in the rear, and they're looking to expand the internal footprint of the house to have a little bit more use for their family. That's what started the project, along with adding a family room to the first floor. The zoning conditions that are causing what we feel to be hardship is the existing condition of the building line width, the width at the building line of the property. The house, I'm sorry, the plot of the house has a width of that area of 55.25 feet. The building line width, yes. The zoning code requires 65 feet at this point. This is an inherited condition that the house was built in 1942, so it was well before the zoning code was adopted. We have letters of support from the near neighbors at 5015 and 5005 Marvine. They're the adjacent neighbors to the property, both left and right of the Carafides, and have supported the project in its current design.
If I can just pause you for 1 second.
Yes.
So this board doesn't accept, if the person isn't here to testify, we don't
Understood.
accept letters of support
Okay.
on the record. So I just wanted to note that. But we see that you did hand them up. And also for the record, we'll mark your, since everything else is something that's already been marked, we'll mark your set of plans as applicants 1, so A1.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
And while I have you paused for a second, we're just going to note for the record, I know that on the notice, it was published as the 2 pieces of relief, 1 the lot width and 1 the side yard. Since you're not proposing any change to the shape or dimensions of the lot itself, we're going to note the lot width issue as an existing nonconformity. So the only piece of relief tonight is the increased side yard encroachment. Right?
That is correct, and that is how we understand the condition as well, is that the point number A, I believe, on tonight's agenda is in an inherited existing condition of the property and the home, which actually, to our understanding, is driving the hardship that we find ourselves in. I'll talk a little bit about the design of the project and where we find ourselves. So the project goals here are to accommodate the design intent of the proposed family room, kitchen, and circulation between each space, the family room and the kitchen, and then circulation through that space between the adjacent dining room. To reduce the variance required, we have designed the addition to be offset from the outer edge of the existing home. So basically, we're bringing in the addition on both sides at the rear of the property. There is an existing addition at the rear of the property that is pretty much in alignment with the exterior wall. The existing condition of the house with related to the property line on the right-hand side of the property, which is adjacent to 5005 Marvine, is about 9.74 feet. We're proposing to bring our addition in to the 10-foot required setback. So we're looking to make the condition of our new proposed addition in alignment with the setback requirements. Additionally, on the opposite side of our property at 5015 Marvine, the house is 13.82 feet from that property line. 82. Yes, 13.82. So as we extend in the rear property, we're bringing that in as well to 13.46. So we're trying to get more narrow as we approach the rear yard. Additionally, we're bringing the basement in 8 foot 6 inches at the basement level. So we're extending the addition out into the rear yard, and we're trying to bring the overall massing smaller, but then on the basement level, we're also trying to carve out additional space to break down the overall massing of that shape. We have proposed a gable roof and a shed roof. The gable roof is over the kitchen space, and the shed roof is over the dining room space. The way the rear windows of the properties are set up in the existing conditions, at the shed roof pitch, we're aiming to be below the sill of the existing window. So we can't really push any further out into the rear yard without the roof line impacting the rear windowsill. We feel that the gable and the shed roof are in alignment with the character of the house and the character of the neighborhood, and feel that this is an appropriate solution, given the requirements of where we find ourselves. Just add a few more points here before we wrap up. I also wanted to note a section of the code, zoning code, which is 550.44.C, number 3, which reads, open decks with or without a roof or additions into the rear yard in line with an existing non-conforming structure shall not be closer than 3 feet to the property line, which we are abiding by. We feel that the design represents the most appropriate solution and response, negotiating between the variables of the existing site condition and its irregular lot, the programmatic goals of the project, and the massing relating to the character of the home and the neighborhood. We also are looking to bring the side yard between our home and 5009, I'm sorry, that's our property, and 5005, into compliance, as it is not in compliant at the moment. To achieve this, we're looking for relief at the aggregate side yard width in the neighborhood of, absolutely. To achieve this, we're looking for relief from the aggregate side yard width in the approximation of 1 foot.
Just from me reviewing the floor plans, you're doing a basement? Are you extending the basement as well as the floor above, which is where the kitchen is going to be? Okay.
That is correct.
And then with the deck that's already there, the deck that is there, or maybe it's a patio?
Yeah.
Correct.
Stone, yeah, that's, okay. So that'll be removed, and then a deck will be added onto the extension, the new proposed extension, okay.
That is
Okay, I
correct.
want to make sure, okay.
Does the existing building, it's not going any further back than the current existing building is at its greatest extent?
We're proposing, we're proposing about a 3-foot extension.
Okay, a 3-foot extension, okay.
Yes, indeed.
And there's no additional bedrooms, no additional bathrooms?
We're proposing a powder room on the first floor,
Okay.
but there's no additional bedrooms in this addition.
And just for me to wrap my mind around what I'm looking at, the existing rear side facade where there's a door there, so I'm assuming all that level is basement, correct?
Are you on sheet Z1.4?
Yes.
Okay, and I'm sorry, could you repeat your question?
All of that, so there's, maybe that was a family room where the lamps are in the window?
That
And
is,
there's a door
Mhm.
underneath. That level is all basement, correct?
that right there is a crawl space.
No. Oh, it is, okay.
White
I was-
door, right, yes.
Yeah, that white or blue, okay, okay.
But the door in the stone wall goes into your
And
basement?
that's
Okay.
base,
That-
okay.
The brick wall.
Well, yes.
Right.
Okay, so that's
Stone.
just underneath that room above, and it stops there.
Yes.
That is
Okay.
correct.
Okay.
So that's the existing, that white area with the bay window would all come down,
That would all be
Yes.
gone.
and it would be replaced with the addition they're
Got it.
proposing across
Got it, 'cause
the
that's-
full back of the house.
That's what I was trying to understand, the levels, okay, kitchen's up, or
Right.
is it middle, or, and if that's the basement, so, okay, I'm
Kitchen's up.
clear,
Yep.
okay,
And the new
clear.
basement area would be
Would
where
be
that
here.
crawl space is as well.
yes. Mhm.
So just generally, why the 3 feet? Like from, I guess, your family's standpoint? Like, why is the space necessary for the use of the house?
It gives us the additional space to expand the kitchen and the living area and include a first floor powder room, which for us is important. We have we have 2 twins, so having or twins, one set of twins. Just one set of twins who are now 10 years old, and being able to have people over and friends and the expanded basement will be helpful. Along with family, the first floor powder room, my dad's 83 years old, so having a place they can come in and not need to go upstairs to a bathroom is very helpful. And our other parents are, in their mid-60s, or 70s actually at this point. Having a space for them to be able to, use the facilities and the like all on one floor when they do visit would be great for us.
Thank you.
Note again that there's no one in the gallery to offer public comment. I guess I should ask first, is there anything else that any of you would like to add?
No, I think we're okay. Thank you.
Good to go.
I'd like to make a motion to approve this application, if I can get a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so
You'll
much.
receive
Appreciate
your
your
written
time
decision
tonight.
within 45 days.
Okay,
Thank you.
We need a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Jim. That was great.